The Terminator's an infiltration unit. Part man, part machine. Underneath, it's a hyperalloy combat chassis. Microprocessor controlled, fully armored, very tough. But outside, it's living human tissue. Flesh, skin, hair, blood, grown for the cyborgs. The 600 series had rubber skin. We spotted them easy. But these are new. They look human. Sweat, bad breath, everything. Very hard to spot. I had to wait till he moved on you before I could zero him. Listen and understand that Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop. Ever. Until you are dead.
Hey everyone, Mr. Dragonbeard here. I had an interesting exchange on Twitter with somebody named Wow of Wall Street, some other people involved. I want to thank him. It got me thinking. I found it interesting. We disagreed, but it started with someone comparing Captain Marvel's assault in her movie. She just assaults a guy she doesn't like and takes his vehicle to Terminator 2 because they were questioning whether a hero would behave this way. So the conversation started moving with Wow into the fact that he believes the Terminator was good in the second movie. He also believes that robots can be heroes and protagonists, and the Terminator was a hero or a protagonist. Well, I disagree. Heroes must be sentient, in my opinion, in order to make the meaningful choices that move the plot. All right, so I came up with a good counterexample, I thought. So there's an episode on Star Trek The Next Generation. Data is questioned about whether he is really sentient, whether he deserves the same rights as other people, or whether he needs to be treated like the property of Starfleet. And in this, they discuss this.
Let's deal with the first, intelligence. Is Commander Data intelligent?
Yes. It has the ability to learn and understand and to cope with new situations.
Like this hearing?
Yes.
What about self-awareness? What does that mean? Why am I self-aware?
Because you are conscious of your existence and actions. You are aware of yourself and your own ego.
Commander Data, what are you doing now?
I'm taking part in a legal hearing to determine my rights and status. Am I a person or property?
And what's at stake?
My right to choose. Perhaps my very life.
My rights. My status, my right to choose. My life. Well, it seems reasonably self-aware to me, Commander. I'm waiting.
Data is self-aware. He's cognizant of his situation, the gravity of his situation. He develops his personality over time. Anyone who watches the show will see that he's different at the end and in the movies than he was at the beginning. And, he issues his own orders, if you will, based on his own unique personality. In other words, he doesn't have some other being giving him directives on how to think and how to behave. He changes over time. The counterexample that's used by the scientist and would be rejected by what I'm talking about is the Enterprise's computer. He says, would you be able to allow your computer to refuse a refit order? Well, the computer might seem very alive to many different types of beings because it's so advanced in many different ways. but it only follows its program directives. Even if it seems like it doesn't, it still is following its directives. It is not self-realized.
But it is a machine. If you permit it to resign, it will destroy years of work in robotics. Starfleet does not have to allow the resignation.
Commander, who do you think you're working for? Starfleet is not an organization that ignores its own regulations when they become inconvenient. Whether you like it or not, Data does have rights.
Let me put it another way. Would you permit the computer of the Enterprise to refuse a refit?
That's an interesting point. But the Enterprise computer is property. Is Data?
Of course.
There may be law to support this position.
And there are numerous examples that you could bring up as possible free will type of situations with Data on the show. But I think that the absolute best out of all of them, without any question, has got to be him refusing orders.
I gave you a direct order, Mr. Data. You release that transporter lockout now.
I cannot do that, sir.
If you don't do it, I will relieve you of duty.
That is your prerogative, sir. Under Starfleet regulations, direct insubordination is a court-martial offense. But I will not release the transporter.
Data, those are two of your friends out there. They have saved your life more times than I can remember. I can't believe you'd be willing to sacrifice them like this.
Commander, please do not think this is an arbitrary decision. I have considered the ramifications of my actions carefully, and I do not believe it is justified to sacrifice one life form for another.
You don't know that the exocomps are life forms.
It is true I am acting on my personal beliefs, but I do not see how I can do otherwise.
You're risking a lot on the basis of a belief.
There's an episode where he refuses orders to uphold his own beliefs, his own conscience. Data refuses them, putting his career at risk, freedom at risk, his friends' lives at risk, and he explains it in a way that makes it clear he understands the full gravity of this.
I can't let you sacrifice yourself.
Commander, if I give my life for my fellow officers, that is my choice. The exocomps no longer have a choice.
Something more, Mr. Data.
Yes, sir. I thought you might want to know why I was willing to risk your life for several small machines.
I think I understand the predicament you were in. It could not have been an easy choice.
No, sir, it was not. When my own status as a living being was in question, you fought to protect my rights. And for that I will always be grateful. The exocomps had no such advocate. If I had not acted on their behalf, they would have been destroyed. I could not allow that to happen, sir.
Of course you couldn't. It was the most human decision you've ever made.
Now, let's jump back over. The Terminator is a character, yes. But the Terminator always serves whoever or whatever has programmed it. It responds and adapts, yes, but has no personality, no conscience, which is right out of the text itself of the show, and has no beliefs. The T800 is literally described as a machine camouflaged as a person. It's camouflaged as a person. It isn't a person, and it's designed to fool us that it's a person, or as it says, to infiltrate.
Listen and understand that Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear, and it absolutely will not stop, ever, until you are dead.
I have detailed files on human anatomy.
I bet. Makes you a more efficient killer, right?
Correct.
Does it hurt when you get shot?
I sense injuries. The data could be called pain.
John, help me with the light. Will these heal up?
Yes. My CPU is a neural net processor, a learning computer. But Skynet presets the switch to read only when we are sent out alone. My mission is to protect you.
Yeah? Who sent you?
You did. 35 years from now, you reprogrammed me to be your protector here, in this time.
You have to do what I say, huh?
That's one of my mission parameters.
Prove it. Stand on one foot. Yes!
Yeah, it can be an antagonist in a narrow scope, as long as you understand it's acting as an agent for a greater intelligence. In this case, first it was Skynet, and then future John Connor. They're the ones who give the directives, and it follows them. A non-sentient character cannot be an actual protagonist because it lacks a cause, it lacks a belief or a larger ideal. It simply does what it is made to do. Now there's an exception. Wacky comedy is always an exception. You can have all kinds of things happen in a comedy as long as it's funny.
Life. Don't talk to me about life.
But I mean, in the rest of the worlds of drama, no matter what genre the drama is playing out in, see, we anthropomorphize these characters often, but there's no justification to see sentience in the Terminator. Even his self-sacrifice is merely a program adaptation at the end of this movie to find the most effective way to protect its target, John Connor, given the new information it has gleaned over the course of time in the movie. Now, most important, without sentience, no matter what, you cannot make a true choice. You're a slave without the ability to question. And without the ability to make the choice coming from the sentience, the character struggles they're not relatable, and they fall empty to an audience.
Are you ever afraid?
No.
Not even of dying?
No.
You don't feel any emotion about it one way or another?
No. I have to stay functional until my mission is complete. And it doesn't matter.
So now the Terminator works because we see it through John and Sarah Connor's eyes. They provoke us over the course of the movie to see sentience and life in the T800. But it's not there. And to be fair, he was never designed or intended to be the protagonist or the hero of the movie. That is John and Sarah. He is there to help. He is there to play a role as a character. But it's amazing what when we want to see something, what we can see. In the end, consciousness is a widely disagreed about, nuanced discussion, and I understand that. So what I want to get home here is in the conclusion, when you look at these two types of characters, whereas Data is self-motivated, he does things without being directly instructed. In other words, he's influenced by other people like you or I, but he's not enslaved to their commands. The Terminator in both 1 and 2 is enslaved to his commands. In the scene where they open up his head and they go in and pull out a chip, there's no discussion about it overriding his orders. His orders are still from the future human version of John Connor. And even though he defies orders at the end, it's because he has a hierarchy of orders. Flipping the switch in his head only allows him to remember things on an ongoing basis rather than having to read only memory in his head. So we don't need to agree on the exact specific nature of exactly how to define sentience. We recognize it within a certain scope. And on display here, we have one person who obviously is not, enslaved to people telling him what to do, and the other one is. Which makes it impossible for him to do acts of heroism, because no matter what this so-called protagonist who has no self-determination does, really it's whoever gave him the orders that is pushing the narrative forward through them as a tool. Anyways, this is Mr. Dragonbeard, and I'm trying to answer the question, why does a hero have to have sentience?
For an android with no feelings, he sure managed to evoke them in others.
He was a man. Take him for all in all. I shall not look upon his like again.
If you liked the video, hit like, share it with people, that'll really help. If you enjoy film analysis, literature analysis, philosophy, and even politics, I do different types of videos on different subjects and then try and group them together. And if you would share my channel, if you would subscribe, that'd really help a lot. It encourages me to do more, and encouragement means a lot when it comes to this type of YouTube stuff because it's basically free time charity anymore. I shoot straight, not politically correct, and don't worry about the feels. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for coming out.
Never saw the sun shining so bright. Never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by. When you're in love, my how they fly. Oh,